There we go. I have to scroll way up to be in all.
Nobody's here.
We're the only ones here.
It's just us.
Hello, everybody.
There they
Hello,
are.
hello. There's all the
That is
people.
wild.
Woo!
That is wild. That is wild.
It's like the end of a wonderful life. Wow. Hey.
Yes.
Wow. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the VO Dojo's demo listen derby. This is the first one we're doing in 1922. 2022. I'm Tish Hicks. I'm the master sensei of the VO Dojo, which is usually based in Burbank, but I am here in Maui, which is also one of the reasons why we do voiceover, so we can do it wherever we are. Joined, as we always are, for our demo listen derbies with the wonderful Brittany Cox and Ryan Ricks of Next Level Voice Demos. And Jeffrey Gilbank is here as our dojo team supporting everybody. So welcome, guys. We're back again. And just have to let you guys know, like, we were amazed and stunned at how many people are here for this call.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, guys, why don't you tell us a quick bit about you, and then we'll jump right in because we want to get listening to as many demos as we can. So after you introduce yourself, I'll kind of talk about what this is and how it works. But yeah, tell us about you.
Awesome. Well, hey guys, I'm Brittany Cox. I'm a voice actor here in LA with A3 Artist Agency, working in multiple genres of VO. Some of my commercial campaigns include Fandango, Sonic Drive-In, and some of my video game and animation stuff you might have heard me on is Genshin Impact, Fire Emblem, Pokemon. I'm also in a new Adult Swim original animated cartoon as the title character, Finn, a Pirate Princess. And through my years of taking workshops, being in front of casting, being in front of directors, being in sessions, talking to a bunch of different agents, I bring a lot of perspective about what the performance requirements are for a demo and for voiceover in different genres, and what people are listening for, what agents are listening for, what casting is listening for. So that's what I'm hoping to give you some insights on today. And this is my wonderful husband, Ryan.
What? Hey, everybody. My name is Ryan Ricks, and I am the production side of this voice demo puzzle. I work in audio post-production and music. Some of my most recent credits include voiceover recording and original music for Netflix, Hulu, Adult Swim, and Fox. I got my start in the audio post-production industry through the voice casting and music licensing side of the business, and then eventually transitioned over into the engineering and, writing music and production side of the business. And so I'm bringing a lot of insight and experience from kind of both sides of the glass, so to speak. I hope to bring some of that knowledge and insight to you today through the demo process and how casting is hearing demos, how production companies are hearing demos, and where this kind of happy medium can be for you to maximize the impact your demos are having out in the world.
Excellent. Yeah, and Brittany and Ryan and the dojo have been working together for the last few years, and we have a really lovely synergy of how we're training people, and we work together to get you ready, prepared, or ready, right? If you're halfway through and need to reconnect with you and what you're bringing out in the world. We have this lovely symbiosis here that's been very successful. I think there was 2 dojo members that were nominated for best demo sovas from that you guys made. Yeah, last year.
Yeah. It was very exciting
it was super
for their
cool.
Commercial demos.
Yeah. And as we say around the dojo, haha, our plan for good is working. So, wow, it looks like everyone is here from all different places, which is super, super cool. Yeah. So, let's see. I'm assuming since we got so many demos sent in that many of you have demos and are on your journey. So what we're going to do today, and then some of you probably don't have your demos. Maybe put in the chat like who has demos, who if you have a demo, if you have a demo, if you need a demo, or if you want to redo your demo. Like that's always an interesting, and it doesn't have to be like redo your demo. It could be like, ooh, it's time to update and judge my demo. So we do have a lot of people who have sent in their demos. So we're going to try and listen to as many as possible. We want to say up front that if we don't get to your demo, or if you have questions about the things that come up in the process of the demo lesson derby about your demo, we are all available after this call, and we can do 15 minutes of one-on-one, give you feedback on what we heard, and so this is just the beginning, and we're going to run through this gauntlet, the demo listen gauntlet process, so we see the process unfold, and then everyone will have time, if you're interested, to talk with you one-on-one. Okay, so and Jeffrey will tell you how to do that in the middle. So let's do this. Let me share my screen, and let me get this so it is at the top, and then I will share my screen. And we'll talk about what we're going to do here today. So this is an awesome thing that we do twice a year. And the idea is, what happens when someone listens to your demo? And what are we looking for in a great demo? What are the ingredients? So the way today is structured is we are basically going to run all of your demos through a gauntlet, and then like a demolition derby, there will be some demos that make it to the next round, and then ideally to the next round. So here's the gauntlet. So the first round, we are going to just be listening for first impressions of your voice. And I'll run through this list, and then Ryan, maybe you can talk about the process and why we're doing it this way. So we're listening for, does it pop? Does it grab me in the first 3 seconds? Does it cut through? Can you hear it through other noise? Connection, does it move me? Is it true? Likability, do I want to spend more time with you when it's done? And most importantly, you-ness, do I know you when it's done, and does it share what is uniquely you? And Ryan, can you talk a little bit about this first round process, why we do it this way?
Yeah, sure. In the context of voice casting, there are like multiple rounds of things when you're actively going after a particular job. And so that's kind of what this gauntlet imitates, is that process of like when you submit your demo for consideration for a job, kind of how people are listening to your demo. And this is generally like the first round of that, is you've been requested to submit your demo for a particular thing. And, this is the first impression. And it really is about a feeling that you get from somebody when it comes to the demo, because everybody is going to be bringing something unique and different. And so this is kind of your first opportunity to introduce yourself and get through the door. This is also the point in the process where things that may or may not be at an industry standard expectation really poke out, which are, as we go into the process, after we get through the gauntlet stuff, we're going to be listening for today is kind of tuning your ears into things that might be not working exactly, and giving you some actionable things that you can use to help them work better for you.
Like things like sound quality, and is the copy dated? Is the style dated? that sort of thing. And
Exactly.
in the first round, guys, because how listening down to a lot of demos might fit into a production schedule, we're going to be doing a little sample of sort of a little bit at the beginning, a little bit in the middle, a little bit at the end, and get an impression of this. So this is the process we're doing. Some people listen down to everything. We're going to assume this is a busy production company. We don't have time to do that. So anything that might seem like, oh man, that is so harsh. It might be harsh, but it's not meant harshly. It's just kind of showing like, this is a reality, or this can be a reality. So it's okay. Everything we're doing here is with nurturing, loving intentions. And if there are like things like, oh man, that's so intense, it's kind of how it really works too.
And
so,
to add on to that, Tish, because this is a great point to bring this up, is a good thing, a thing that I think this process illuminates for a lot of people is your demo is never listened to in a vacuum. People are always listening to your demo in comparison to everybody else's demo who's been surrounded. And this is like your first impression to people who don't know you. So it's trying to illuminate, where do you stand up in that process? And we always like to say in these demo derbies, a big question we get a lot is, what makes a good demo? At the end of the day, a good demo is getting you into the rooms that you want and getting you the audition opportunities that you want. If it's doing that, fantastic. If you're not getting those audition opportunities or getting into the rooms or meeting the people that you want, today we're going to find actionable things that you can look at and say, okay, here's where I can start. Maybe these things aren't working and why I'm not getting where I want to be.
Right. And that's where these things in this gauntlet list that we're going through quickly are, that's how they stack up. Is these are some of the things that we're listening for to see if, your demo is really working for you in the way that you want it to.
Right. And then a context, like, are we listening to add you to a roster? Are we listening to cast you for this specific spot for Wendy's or something like that? And each thing will be different. Good. Well, let's talk through the second round. So then we'll put the ones that are, each of us will kind of do a swipe left, swipe right, and put ones that we'd want to listen to again into the next round. So middle impressions, we're looking for production quality, competitive skills. Does it sound like something that I'd hear on the air? Nationally, regionally? Those are choices that you can make with your demo about where you're marketing to. Range, do I have a good sense of all the facets of your voice? Are there contrasts? Does this take me on a ride? Do I see different sides of you? Versatility, can I interpolate what you can do in between? Is there a color wheel, a spectrum of what you can do? Assuming directability, if you can go that way and that way, I'm assuming that you can do something in the middle. And then does it have a range of energy levels? At the Dojo, we call it the cellometer. Are there different levels of energy? And then, the idea of making a lasting impression. Is it current? Is it up to date, reflecting trends? Are the brands existing? Like that's, we found a piece of copy in the Dojo curriculum. It's like, that girl is dead. Like, oh dear, that spokesperson is dead. We better take that out. Humor, does it make me laugh? Does it find you're funny? Pacing, do the spots flow at the right rate? Surprise, is there something that goes, oh, it's a delightful surprise? Rhythm, marketability, vibes, what's your thing? And mostly undeniability. Is it something that I can't resist? One of my bars for a great demo is like a roller coaster ride. Does it take you on a ride? Does it not drop you off any place? And at the end you go like, again, I want to go on that ride again. So yeah, we talked a little bit about this. So, okay. Awesome. Did we miss anything? I think let's jump in. Yeah. I'm going to stop my share and Jeffrey, do you have a link so you can put up that gauntlet in the chat?
I can make that happen.
then you guys can look along at home
You
too.
can play along at home.
Yeah.
Well, so
All right.
like Tish touched on, and in the real world, like your demo is always being listened to for a specific reason. You're being considered for a particular job and blah, 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 blah. Obviously, we're not casting for anything today. Like we're listening to the demos as an end in themselves. And so to kind of set the stage a little bit just before we jump in so that we can all be listening in kind of a similar way is I think a really helpful kind of mental analogy for what we're doing today is like a cooking 101 class. It's kind of like how when you're making a dish, you can season it to taste. Some people like their stuff more spicy than others. Some people like this and that with their dishes. However, raw chicken is raw chicken, or burnt vegetables is burnt vegetables. And that's how we're going to be listening to the demos today is we're listening to or for the raw chicken or the burnt vegetables that will be a cause for somebody to say no to your demo because it's distracting and they never get a chance to get to know you through your work. So that's how we're listening for it today is obviously there's some subjective things in there and people are going to like more humor than this or that. And that's where the personality and all the vibe and all of that, kind of magical stuff comes from. However, there are some very clear-cut fundamentals of like, you cannot serve raw chicken. You cannot serve your demo a certain way either. And those are the things that we're going to be listening for and kind of giving you some new ways to listen and, tune into those things so that you can fix them and make more impact with your demos.
So you have actionable steps to make your demo work better for you.
And so what we're going to do is I'm going to share my screen here in just a second, and we're going to start in our commercial demo bin. And like we mentioned ahead, there's far too many demos for us to get through in a 2-hour webinar. So towards the end of the webinar, stick with us and we'll put all of our information to where you can get in touch with us. We offer a 15-minute no obligation phone call to answer questions. Everybody, we're all here for you. So do not worry if we blaze through your demo or happen to not get to it. So
no panicking.
There's no stress whatsoever. So with that, I'm going to share my screen, and everybody should be seeing a Finder window with our commercial demos. Give me a thumbs up just so I can see that everybody can see it. Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you, Andrew. Excellent.
Look at how many. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So here's what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of skip around. We're not going to necessarily go all the way down like this, and we'll just skip around. And the way that we're going to listen, like Tish mentioned, is very similar to how I would listen when I was working in voice casting, is because this is actually a very small amount of demos compared to what I would get submitted for a particular job. And so it is impossible to sit there and listen to a minute or a minute and a half of everybody's demo all the time. And so the way that we kind of approach this is by taking bits and pieces throughout and by being able to put together a feeling of what you do and what your range is based on these different spots around your demo. And you'd be surprised as we go through the day how things sometimes can feel really similar, which might or might not be a good thing, or things can feel really sporadic and completely unfocused, which may or may not be a good thing. And so that's how we're going to be listening today. So let's jump in with our raw chicken analogy and see what happens. So first up is Adrian.
P3, the portable protein pack, is made using simple math. Meat plus cheese plus nuts equals awesome in a cell phone plan to Straight Talk Wireless, and keep your phone, network, and number. With time-saving appliances, so you can chop it, mix it, blend it, brew it, or toast it. Just one way, we're building a new American Airlines.
Cool. What did you think? What was your first impressions?
Great clients for her. I would have, 100%, especially Straight Talk Wireless. For me, I felt until we got to the end, everything felt like it lived in the same place, and it was, it all felt kind of like pushed conversational. So I would want to hear more, a little more range in there, but I love the voice. I thought it was good. What about you, Tish?
Yeah, similar. Love the voice. There's something about the pacing being kind of the same in most of them, but there was also a really nice, like different colors of the different products had different colors and feelings to them, even though the pacing was. So I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, production quality wise, I would say that things felt like relatively current. Like nothing jumped out to me as being like false or untrue in terms of music selection. A very common thing that comes up a lot from the production side when people are like, if they're working with an experienced demo producer or making their demo themselves, is music choice plays a lot in the perception of your work. And I thought that all of the music choices lined up with what those clients would use in their actual spots, which
felt authentic.
Which made me really connect with her, which was great.
Yeah, I would put her in the selects to listen more and see if there's more.
Yeah, that we just might have missed in the first round. Fantastic. Well, let's go to another A. Let's go to, let's go to Ariel.
Wait, who says dating is canceled?
Dates are still happening and sparks are flying every day with It's Just Lunch. It's all of us together, long, warm days.
Oh no, they're not signed up for anything yet.
Watch out, world. Order pizza, support local pizza shops, and earn free prices and the products to keep hair looking great anytime.
Save the fiction for your...
What did you think?
I love the voice. I think the performances are great. I'm confused who the clients are. Because and maybe it's because we were just skipping through. I didn't hear clients towards the end, so I got confused if they were real spots. So that stood out to me. But I thought the performances were great and had a nice variation.
Interesting. I felt something a little bit different in listening through. I felt that a lot of her energies kind of lived in the same spot. And like for me as a demo, it's really important, that your demo is structured in such a way that your the spots that lend variety land in particular places. And kind of like a helpful, actionable thing would be, because it's already becoming apparent in these first couple of demos, is make sure that whatever opens your demo sets a very clear expectation of what you do really well. Make sure that right in the middle is something completely contrasting to that. So if you're like a super fast talking, energetic type of performer, and that's like your bread and butter, open with that so that it's like, if they only listen to the first, 10 seconds, they hear what you do really, really well and kind of why they would call you 90% of the time. And then in the middle, give them something completely different that shows, if we're going with this like fast talking bit in the beginning, maybe the middle has something that's a little more warm and inviting and much more of an intimate energy and less of an external kind of thing. And then towards the end, like have something a little different in there as well. That way, again, working with this assumption that nobody on their first impression is going to sit and listen to your demo start to finish. That way you're kind of building in some insurance that they're going to hear some variety and can trust that you're not just a single note performer as like kind of an actionable thing. Since we're already coming across it so quickly, it's interesting how fast that happens just in 2 demos.
And then Tish, what did you think?
Yeah. I felt like that there's a nice sense of individual personality, but I have a feeling that if we really talked, there would be a layer of authenticity. There's some like hushing or pushing the excited energy that seems like it's not necessarily relaxed and connected. And it also sounded like there was something like playing at young, or the idea of young. I don't know. So I would say maybe on this one.
I think I'd be a maybe as well. So
yeah,
we'll pass along. So let's go to B. So that way we can hit at least one in each
letter.
Each letter.
All right, Barbara is our only B.
Some women too, or some men too.
Yes.
With 3 kids, organizing my family's calendar started to feel like a second job. And it does the work for me. Stitched leather armrests and tuxedo a place of aching beauty. Up yet, go order one and off because you thought maybe you'd land on free.
This is interesting. The first spot really grabbed me, which is, and I love the vocal print and the vibe, but as we got along, the pacing didn't feel like commercials. It didn't feel real. So then I got confused what these were for, because commercials don't all move at that slow of a pace.
Mhm.
So having that many back to back made me confused.
Yeah, I mean, my first impression was that this demo felt, it did not feel like it reflects how commercials actually sound.
Yeah.
This kind of touches on how important production is in conjunction with a performance side of things. Is, your performances can be really dialed in and connected, but if the sound effects and the music and kind of the ebb and flow of the demo is not on trend with where things are, then it doesn't lend that feeling of authenticity, and it feels it doesn't communicate what you're trying to communicate. So for me, there were a couple things in there that felt pretty dated in terms of their production choices. Like, not a lot of people are using like the sultry jazz thing anymore. Like, that's very much like
Unless it's a joke.
Unless they're kind of poking fun at an old kind of way of doing things. And there were some other production choices throughout. So I would say for me, like, an actionable thing again to listen through with your demos is making sure that the clients are very clear in who they are, so that we instantly know like who you're marketing yourself to. And then also make sure that, like, if you're doing it or if you're working with a professional producer, make sure that you do your research and that they know what the current trends are in terms of how commercials sound.
Yeah.
Because Barbara's performances, like, there were some cool moments that really like reached out and grabbed you, but the production of them coming out of the speaker kind of was a reason to say no. It was the undercooked chicken in our analogy, which is what which was what we were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And great voice print. Like, so what is being sought right now? The sound. I feel like there's probably some more direction that this could be have a little bit more nuance and dynamic to it.
Totally.
Yeah, agreed. Let's see. Should we go to Charles?
Yeah, let's go to Charles.
Let's see here.
Must there be hell in a healthy breakfast? Goodbye, tasteless fiber. Hello, Drive One at your local Coyote dealer. Want relief from tough pain without the tough take? By over 80 years of healthcare expertise, we'll be there when it matters most. Begin boldly. You can't always be there to protect her down it doesn't. The Michelin Premier Tire. Safe when new, safe when worn.
That's a cool voice. I'd want to listen all the way through, because there were some moments that pulled me out that I was like, is that a real commercial? I don't know. Like, is this narration? There were some things that pulled me out, so I'd be curious to listen through. But I thought there was a nice, I thought the performances felt connected, and that some of the clients, the clients that I did hear, felt right for this vocal print.
Yeah, I would say I would want to listen to as a first impression. Like, it was a cool first impression because I really liked Charles' vocal print, which drew me in. And I felt that the way he opened the demo was really strong. And but then as we clicked through, there were some things that, again, like, kind of pinged my ear as either sounding the same, or unclear about where the branding actually was. And I think that's an important note, like, when we're listening to these demos, and when people, a big question that Brittany and I get a lot from the demo listen derbies revolves around this idea of variety in your demo, and like, how much variety should I have, and what does this look like, and things like that. And I think a really kind of actionable way to kind of tune your ears to variety is that variety for variety's sake is not clear branding. you want to make sure that your branding in terms of the adjectives that you would use to describe yourself are coming through loud and clear through your demo. So for me, with Charles, if I'm looking at it through that lens of like, who is Charles and what does he do really, really well? I don't know if I have a super clear picture of what that looks like, because to me, a lot of the energy lived in a very similar place. Even though there was a lot of variety in the demo, it wasn't necessarily variety bringing a new picture to things that he could do. It just felt like changes for change's sake. And so that would be something I would want to listen to in more detail of whether or not that branding becomes clearer listening through the whole thing versus not. So I would probably throw him in the selects as well.
I would. Yeah.
I totally would. And I actually really liked this. It made me laugh right at the top. That was funny. And the variety for me, I felt it in my heart. I felt it, not just heard it, of a feeling of like, oh, here's someone who's, this is the guy who would drive you to the hospital. This is the guy who, so I got that at the dojo, we talk about the exchange of vibrational energy being what really we're doing here, the energy underneath the words. So that impacted me. And then I thought it was really interesting. There was just a little tinge of some sort of like Texan or something, but it was in, it was out, but there was a through line of it that I really, really liked. So
yeah, it never felt put on or fake. It just felt like a part of him.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really lovely. Great.
Cool. We're in the D's now. Let's see. We've got one from Dan here.
Everyone makes mistakes. Write gooder. Wait, scratch that. Better. With Grammarly. Better writing made easy.
If two vegetarians argue over the last slice, is it still called a...
Declare your independence from unhealthy snacking. Wonderful almonds are a heart-healthy source of needs. Set your imagination free and bring your most amazing ideas. Really hungry and that espresso Snickers looks so good.
Here's the thing I love about Dan. Oh, go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, it's just, what? Go ahead.
I liked Tish talking about first impression and all that stuff. I know exactly who this guy is. I feel like I know what he does. He does comedy that lives in his world, all of that stuff. I'd be curious to listen if there's something that's just relatable and conversational and real, because I felt like everything was a little elevated. That being said, I loved everything that was elevated. So
yeah, I thought his branding was super clear about like what adjectives I would use to describe him as an actor and why I would call him. And then I also thought like what was really interesting is listening from Charles' demo from a production standpoint, going right into Dan's demo, there was a huge upswing in terms of the production approach. And I think that also lent to our impression of Dan's work, is because to my ear, Charles' demo felt like everything was recorded it all felt very similar. Like all of the music was just at the same level, at the same thing throughout, and it felt kind of like a demo. Whereas I felt Dan's, even though it is a demo, it felt more like a collection of work that he pulled from a variety of different sources. And I think that's an important part to understand about the demo process, is that you can have a great voice and you can have like a great energy, but you really need to pay attention to the full picture, because if it sounds and feels like a demo, it kind of breaks that illusion that you're like already working and that you are trustworthy with, this client's money and things of that nature. So it's just another layer to consider in terms of how it helps you kind of build that layer of trust with a complete stranger.
Especially, where your demo is never listened to in a vacuum. So if Dan did put together all these spots that he has actually booked, it feels really different from some of the other ones we've listened to. So Tish, yeah.
I responded, it's good, it's solid. I responded that everything seemed a little polished. I think you used the word elevated. It seemed a little polished, a little so that it was kind of everything sounded like that, even the more heartfelt stuff. I would probably I don't know, like it's in the competitive, but it seemed like that I would want to hear other facets and other parts and see if not polished is something that would be in a wheelhouse, like if I were adding to a roster.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And it might be in there.
Maybe hidden in there. So
Yeah.
worth another listen.
I agree.
Yeah.
Let's see. Should we do a
Yeah, let's do a female.
You could try and tame this reimagined icon, but why would you want to mess with automotive perfection? Boldness to reveal your brightest, most beautiful skin. Try Sugar Strawberry. Give you the best and always be there for you because you're happy. That inspires teamwork, where people focus their time and skills to build. You like to recharge and relax. Well, had no dishes to clean up, and now it's next level amazing. Make eating easy.
I feel like I know what her branding is. And like, I feel like I know who she is. I feel like I know what she does really well. And I believed everything she said. Nothing was distracting.
I liked that clicking through, I got different facets of her branding, like following this kind of structural thing of the demo of like having, what you do really well, open the demo, having a contrasting middle and then a contrasting end.
Yeah.
I felt like the demo was structured in such a way to where just clicking through quickly, I felt like she had a really good range and that I would be interested in like learning more. Like I trust that she could do a variety of different things, whether it was more in that warm, intimate place, or if it was more in an easygoing conversational thing, which I think worked really well for this demo.
Yeah. I love the first spot. Totally had me 100%. Got the variation. The spot at the end seemed somewhat similar to like if it was shades of colors, like this was like deep red and this was maroon or something like that. It was kind of the same. And then interesting because it's like this is just like my first impression of the tasting of the dish. The first spot, yum, 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 like yes. And then there's a little bit of an edge, like that that can be really effective. But then I thought it was kind of in a bunch of things that I don't know. I think I'd want to hear like even warm without edge. So I'm not sure if that's articulate, but that was like how I describe the dish. But competitive for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely I think we all agree in the selects for either another listen or for the next round.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So let's do Eric. Let's do a guy.
All right.
Here's a question. What's the one thing everybody's favorite dish has in common? Give up? We're multitaskers. That's why Authentic Samuel Adams. An exterior because football is just the beginning.
So I'm so glad that we listened to this demo right after the other one because clicking through this one by comparison, it felt like a lot of Eric's energy just lived in one place, and that after listening to just the first few seconds on the demo, after listening to clicking through the whole demo, I felt like nothing changed.
Yeah.
And so for me, like that would, in terms of what we're talking about of like being a good demo or like all of this stuff, like for me, this demo misses the mark in that regard because the clients weren't super specific and it kind of just felt from a performance wise like
it was a straight line.
Like it was just a straight line and we were missing that those color shifts and those energy shifts to make sure that to really hear Eric's personality. And I think now speaking through it out loud, I think that is the core of what was missing was personality. You got a little bit of that snarky humor right at the get-go, but then it just kind of flatlined from there. And I would want to hear more
about what makes him unique. Like, who is he?
I'd want to hear, I'd want to hear more of his personality. And I think that's an important thing with the demos, again, since like we want to make sure that you all are getting like really actionable things to like listen for and do, you know, because odds are you haven't been doing this for a decade like we have and pick up on the same things. And so like you have to be from a performance side, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there and to let your own life experience come through in your work, regardless of what that is. Like if you're 20, then use that. If you're 80, then use that. But it needs to be an authentic place. Like as when we're listening to demos and when we're listening to casting, and I think this is actually, it's in a slightly different context, but we'll get there even more when we get to the animation and video game stuff. But Brittany and I just finished casting a kids podcast show that we're developing. And so having gone through this exact process was incredibly enlightening that we literally just finished casting a couple weeks ago. And what was really interesting was that even though people gave like great reads or, you know, whatever it was, like if they didn't understand the kind of sense of comedy in our show or have a natural inclination to like let their personality shine through, then even though they gave like fine reads or the vocal print was perfect, like if we were looking for a deeper voice and they had a deeper voice, it was still a no for us because we were missing out on that point of view and that personality. And so I think that's something actionable that Eric's demo brings to the surface, is how important bringing your own point of view and your own personality into your work is, because nobody wants like just a blank slate. Like we really want to
want to know who you are.
We really want to get a sense of who you are and what you bring.
And I think another important thing is when you're in a demographic where there's a lot of people, like there's probably a lot of sort of, 30s men that like, that's where I would kind of put that voice, right? There's a lot of people in that demographic. There's a lot of work for all those people as well. But how do you differentiate, right?
Yeah. And it's not about being clever too. I think that a lot of people that we speak with,
there's no trick to it. It really is just being, who are you? How do you relate to people? And how can you show your personality? It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, it's simple, but it's ridiculously hard. But it is that simple.
Which is why, it's great. People working at the dojo and getting training and like really working to understand who they are is important.
And all the ingredients are there. It's just not quite cooked.
Yeah.
So let's keep on going.
Want to go to the J's?
Yeah, let's go to the J's. We have a lot of those.
Okay, great. Where do you want to go? We have so many J's.
Pick one.
You have to name it.
Jennifer.
Here we go.
There's never been a better time to have a favorite food. With new Grubhub Plus, you get unlimited free delivery and cashback rewards. Unique selection, unbelievable prices, home goods. Feel alive and escape from a world gone mad. Unlimited, just $40 when you switch. That's the best unlimited plan in wireless. Your kids grow up way too fast, and sharing a bathroom with teenagers? Wake up, Mom. Dial 877-8.
This is so interesting. So to my ear, the first thing that jumped out to me, again, because production is the production value in the demo. Like there were a lot of there were some creative choices and how the like the music selection and whatnot, and like the sound of her voice that was
didn't feel natural.
It didn't feel it didn't feel natural. And the music choices didn't feel on brand for the clients that were represented on the demo. I know that because like we're researching and working with these clients like all the time. And so like I know kind of what their sonic branding is.
Yeah.
But that's really the value in like not making your own demo or working with an experienced demo producer is
who's working today,
who's currently working, is they know that, like, for example, the home goods spot, aren't using her age of a vocal print
and the performance, they don't use that hyped thing,
and like, aren't using that type of music in their commercial campaigns, as an example, or whatever it is. And so all of those things, when they're going to a casting director, the thing to remember about casting directors is that that's their job day in and day out. Like, they've
worked on most of these campaigns.
They know what these things sound like, and they're using them to showcase their own value of their talent of, hey, my talent booked this home goods spot, or hey, my talent is the voice of this Jeep campaign, or my talent is the voice of this Subaru campaign, like with Tish. And so, like, the branding, both from a performance standpoint and a production standpoint, is so important that all of that lines up.
Because that hit my ear. Hearing that, because I've worked with home goods, and immediately I was like, no, that's not right. So it immediately put doubt and distracted from Jennifer as a voice actress, because I was in my brain thinking of, they don't do that. And instead of focusing on like, oh, wow, this is what she does really well. So yeah, that was.
Yeah. And Jennifer has a great young sound.
Oh yeah.
The demo made it seem like maybe not as much experience. Like if I listened to this demo and I went, oh, I'll probably have to work with her a little bit in a session, but she could do it, right? But it wouldn't be like, oh, she's got it. But that's also the, if you're a young person, then you probably have a certain amount of experience. So nothing to get caught up on, but it is something that I heard.
Yeah.
Like just the level of nuances, but really, really enjoyable.
Yeah, I think it just comes back to like a lot of things that we've all been taught, and exactly what you said, Tish. It comes to that level of trust. So in a casting situation, let's say we had 30 different young females and Jennifer was in that pool. She has a great voice. Does the client want to take a chance on someone who's maybe less experienced versus someone who might have a demo that feels real and feels like that young person is working? It's like so think of your demo as a way to establish trust of like, you can trust me with your campaign. Here's what I can do for you.
Yeah. And what's really, really, really important about this, guys, and it's, whether you're about to do your demo, or a lot of times the question is, when do you know you're about to do your demo? Because we do want your demo to sound like, oh yeah, this person can totally deliver.
Yeah.
And the game is, when you work with good demo producers, they'll make you sound like that. The reality is, can you step into the booth and deliver? Can you step in and deliver what's on your demo and beyond, right? So that's some of the criteria. At the Dojo, one of the main criteria that we look for, are you ready to make a demo? Can you pick up any piece of copy that's put in front of you, nail it without any direction within 1 or 2 takes? That's a really good thing, without any direction. So to keep in mind that just getting a good demo is important, but being able to deliver what's on the demo consistently that's how you build a sustained, successful career, right?
Absolutely.
We could have a drink and so many stories of people who had excellent branding, excellent demos produced, stepped into the agency or the first opportunities and couldn't do it. So yeah,
I've replaced some of those people. It's never fun for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Excellent. Well, let's keep on going. And people who've gotten skipped, we love you and we want to talk to you too. Don't worry.
Yeah. We're just picking it random. We really are, because we have so many to get through today. So no worries.
Yeah.
But the listening concepts apply in terms of, is my branding clear? Is my best work up front? Is there variety at these like kind of beginning, middle, end points throughout my demo? Is the variety that's on my demo representative of my branding, or is it just random things that I've put together?
Does it feel authentic?
Does the demo, when it comes out of the speakers as a finished product, music, voice, everything, does it hit your ears as feeling like something you've heard on TV or on the radio or whatever? Because as Brittany's been saying over and over today, is your demo is not listened to in a vacuum. It's being heard through everyone's filter, because we're hearing, commercials and content constantly. Like, you can't not avoid it anywhere. And so people's impressions of what things feel like are more tuned than probably they ever have been, as like a general public. And so it becomes even more important to make sure that your work is representing you the way you want to be represented. And I think bringing it back to Jennifer, I feel like the way that the demo was kind of framing her picture of her voice was letting her down and was causing some confusion about what she does and how she wants to be represented.
Yeah.
And so making some different creative choices in terms of how the demo is put together might alleviate or remove some of those distractions and allow us to just connect with Jennifer.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's all casting wants. That's all we wanted when we were casting our show, is we just wanted to cast the best person for the job. And we wanted to connect with them right away, to where we knew that we wouldn't have to teach them the character or teach them the vibe in the session. It was just like,
they get it.
They get it. Like,
they're
good. And they feel good.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're listening for. And kind of getting rid of those distractions.
So let's move on to M's.
M's. Good gracious. Skipping to the M's. Okay. What about Margot?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
The hunt is on. The prey, the perfect red listening to an 8-track of this cool new band. Sure, I want to save the planet. Or out of life. That mile was for my mom. Everything. No, really, everything. I hear.
So a lot of the things we've talked about so far are in here. Like, the production quality is lacking in terms of what the expectation is, especially, on demos that we heard that really felt really good, like Dan's demo that we put through a little bit ago and some of the earlier demos we listened to. I felt that from a script standpoint, we were missing that commercial flavor.
Yeah.
It felt maybe like
it all felt very low and here.
Yeah.
It all lived in this one kind of like what we heard with some other demos. It all felt like the performances all lived in a similar place. So I didn't really understand what it sounded like if she just talked conversationally.
And I would say, even from going another layer deep into the script standpoint, this is a great example of how important the scripts are on your demo, is because clicking through, everything felt very wandering and like we were in this very storytellery place, almost like I clicked into the middle of a podcast episode or something.
Yeah, that's a great way to describe it.
As opposed to I'm listening to a commercial, like a conversational vibe commercial, and then I switch to a more warm and intimate vibe commercial.
This one feels national. This one feels regional.
Yeah.
This one feels like Spotify.
Yeah, it, and that's really what we don't want to hear, is a wandering kind of loose, organized demo. What we want to hear is somebody that has made some really clear choices and comes in with a really strong point of view and nails their commercial.
Because I love that. I mean, Margot, your voice is just velvety, which I love, but I want to hear what else where else you live, because I know you don't talk like this to everybody. Or maybe you do. But
It seemed a tiny bit dated too.
Yeah.
Content and style seemed a little bit. So maybe it's an
older demo.
Yeah. You know what I'm gonna do? Just as an example, when we listen to a select or two, I'm gonna play that in immediately back to back with one of the demos that I would say hits my ear with really strong production quality, just to give us that immediate A/B comparison, so we can all hear it together.
If we have time, yeah.
So let's see.
Do a dude.
Let's pick a couple more, and then we'll go to character stuff.
That sounds good.
Where do you want to go? Paul.
Need help understanding the confusing Medicare insurance details? Up very quickly if you don't have the right plan.
When you have Rancho Shocks, an action game War Thunder, the sound of its deadly 7-barrel gun, plus a whole brand.
So the script-wise, the first two places we clicked, it felt very narration. and this felt homemade. Like they didn't feel like real commercials. When he got to that end of that pushed, more energetic vibe that almost felt like a video game promo, but maybe it was for a product. It didn't feel authentic. It felt very forced and unnatural. So yeah, I would pass on this one.
Yeah, it definitely, there was a lot of undercooked ingredients on the plate that are a very clear reason to say no. Like, you know, I would want Paul to like really do a lot more research and get really clear about like what are the things he feels he's bringing to the table in a commercial setting. Because right now, listening to this demo, it almost feels like he's unclear about what a commercial in 2022 is. As like, because like what Brittany was saying with the narration thing, like the very first thing we hear didn't even sound like a commercial. It sounded like something you would hear representative on like a narration type demo or something.
I would the quality of the voice. I'll bet you're working a lot in narration, Paul, because it's really, really good. So the things that come up for me are understanding the different needs of the different genres, right? And sometimes when we're playing one sport, and we do that a lot, then we switch to another sport, we have to take our athleticism and adjust to the other sport and the finesse and nuances of it. So I think you get it. And then I just noted in your in the chat, Paul, you mentioned like this is what the client wants. So ultimately, what we always do is what the client wants. When the client is happy, our work is done, right? And if the client wants something that is like, wow, I wouldn't have put that on air, but here you go, thank you, right? When the client is happy, our work is done. However, it's interesting because just because you've done a spot, there may be considerations of just because you've done a spot, is it serving you and your product? It may serve that client in that moment with their product, and that's fantastic, and we get paid for it. But how is it serving you and your product that you're putting forth is a really interesting consideration, you know. Or if we get you know, I book this and I book this again and I book this because this is what I book, right? In a demo, we kind of need just the primo sample of like, oh, she can totally do that healthcare thing like nobody's business day and night. But then we want something different, right?
Yeah, well, I think this brings up a great point, actually. A demo, and this is a difficult thing to wrap your brain around sometimes. I know it was for me when I first got started. A demo is not a resume. A demo is not a resume. A demo is showing casting and agents what you want to be booking and what you should be booking. It's not, you're not looking backwards, because at the end, exactly what happened, if this was a client thing, maybe that was exactly what Tish said and that's exactly what the client wanted, but is that the kind of reads and the kind of stuff you want to be booking in the future?
Exactly that. And also, if it is, then it's important to make sure that you are labeling it and presenting your work appropriately. It would be the equivalent of saying, I would like the fish, and then you get pork for dinner, or like I would.
Are you hungry?
I'm
You're
starving.
very
hungry.
food analogy.
Very hungry. But it
to a
works.
restaurant.
But it works because it's so clear. Because it's literally like you just want to make sure that how you're presenting yourself is accurate to what the medium is. Like saying that this is a commercial demo is not true. Saying that it's a job that you booked and it's a sample of narration work, that might be more accurate.
Yeah,
and
that's
that
interesting.
would influence our perception of your work. Like if we clicked on this demo in the context of our narration piles,
it might have read different.
It might have hit different. But saying that this is a commercial demo and representing you in that context, it's not.
Especially listening to all these other demos, like, because again, we never listen to them alone. And, you know, Paul, when you send out this demo, people won't know that you've booked this. Stacking up against all the other demos, it doesn't quite hold up how the other ones do.
Right. So
yeah, let's listen to one more commercial, and then we can jump over to.
Actually, since we're dealing with, like, I would love to just jump before we go to the thing, rather than listening to one more fresh one. I'd love to go back in and just do a really fast A/B comparison between some of our selects, so that we can hear instantly in the moment some of these, like how the demos hit our ears. Just going through these things really fast, and then we'll move to character stuff and go through that way, if that's okay.
So that way we'll still have time for questions and stuff.
Yeah. And I think that's good to like take these through the gauntlet and listen through, because there's because a lot of what happens in Demo Listen Derby is there's something that I might have differently. There might be something in our little sampling that was like, ooh, but yeah. So let's do that.
And to be really clear, like, I don't want to listen to these all the way through. I literally just want to click through them to give how important this first impression is, because I think that's going to be more helpful for people to hear, like, how these things come out of the
instead of clicking
speakers.
through, we'll listen more than just like 2 seconds at the beginning.
Sure.
We'll listen through longer.
Well, we're going to listen through all these without talking. So we're just going to go on a listening adventure. Here we go.
P3, the portable protein pack, is made using simple math. Meat plus cheese plus nuts equals awesome in America is the land of plenty, but for some, that's not the case. Every day, 1 in 7 children faces hunger.
Must there be hell in a healthy breakfast? Goodbye, tasteless fiber. Hello, heavenly goodies flavors, taking the pain out of pain relief. And with coverage you can trust, backed by over 80 years of health.
Everyone makes mistakes. Write gooder. Wait, scratch that. Better. With Grammarly. Better writing made easy.
If two vegetarians argue over the last slice,
Protein and fiber. Save 25% this weekend when you shop at Party City. With over 150 new...
You could try and tame this reimagined icon, but why would you want to mess with automotive perfection?
There's teamwork, where people focus their time and skills to build, create, and engage at the highest level. This is
The hunt is on. The prey, the perfect red leather pump with 6-inch heels. DSW is where you... I wish I knew.
Hey!
Florida's booming with boomers. Today's Florida transplants want more out of life.
I feel like that is so educational, listening down to all those, like, hopefully. So what jumped out to me, you know, obviously, like, we were switching between like male and female talent and things like that. But what jumped out to me immediately were, you know, the demos where clicking through, they had that shift in the middle to where I felt like we went somewhere different. I felt that there were certain demos where the production value was more on par with industry standard, and others felt like they were more in that, how we're using that term, homemade category.
More demo sounding.
Or more demo sounding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really interesting going through like that.
This is hey Jeffrey, does everybody who's on this call, do they have access to this Dropbox?
No.
Nope. Okay. I'm wondering. I mean, I guess that. So I'm just trying to think. A great exercise to do is go to an agency that you want to be a part of, and listen down their roster. Listen to the first 15 seconds. And when do you want to turn something off? When do you go like, holy whoa? When do you want to turn something off? When do you want to keep on listening? And it's also kind of interesting because you can't necessarily go by what's on agency reels, because sometimes there's like people who've been doing this for 400 years and are like, oh my God, that sounds like from 1948.
Yep. And their demo's like 4 minutes long.
right. Yeah. Good. Well, that's interesting. Cool.
I think to sum up the commercials before we move on to the character-based stuff is make sure that your adjectives for how you describe yourself and your personality are on full display. Really lean into those. Like Brittany's saying, your demo is not your resume.
Yeah.
It's your chance to show casting and people who you are and the types of jobs you want to be booking, not necessarily the jobs that you have booked. Making sure that at those strategic kind of structural points that there is an energy shift to where regardless of how somebody is listening to your demo, they're going to get a sample of what you can do, and know that there's those in-between shades that Tish was talking about. And I think at the end of the day, from a production standpoint, it really is being willing to do the research and make sure that the producers that you're working with, or however your demo is coming together, that those producers understand what is current and how to frame your work in the best possible light, so that a casting director or an agent who has had their hands in these casting pools and stuff
and doesn't know you
does not have a reason to say no.
It's all about authenticity and trust. And who is this demo for? And what doors do you want it to open?
So with that, let's back out of the commercial demos.
Oh, and remember, everybody, as a reminder, in case somebody jumped in, Tish, Ryan, and myself are offering no obligation 15-minute phone calls. So if we skipped your demo and you didn't hear feedback, or you want more feedback, we're all available. And so please get on our calendar after the webinar, and we're happy to chat more in more detail.
And we'll be able to talk more in depth because we've had this discussion already. So it'll all flow together.
Flow together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great job, everybody. Yeah, and I find it interesting. Like on the first, who's the first pick? Was it Alicia that we listened to?
Yes.
That second spot, like, totally grabbed me in a way. It was like, oh, the subject matter I might not put first, but oh my gosh, that's an undeniable first thing. Yeah. And I would personally say we didn't listen through everything, but I'm not sure that we heard a demo like that was like, boom.
Yeah, I would agree. Listening back, there's been other demo derbies where we all were like, yes, that is firing on all cylinders, 100, amazing, 100%, give this person a contract. I don't know if we had, I agree. I don't know if we had one of those.
In this little sampling. So yeah. But just wanted to clarify that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to some character stuff, just to switch it up.
Excellent. So again, like, as a reminder, like, we're listening to these demos as an end in themselves, right? These are not like the middle ground to getting you cast for a job. We're listening to the demo for its own sake, and how it feels and how it hits, and if it feels current and things. So a lot of the same things apply in the video game and animation world as do the commercial world, in terms of authenticity, in terms of making sure that your characters feel believable and are connected. And I know Brittany can speak a lot more to that from the performance side of things.
And so before we begin, just a couple of things that always come up when we are talking about character stuff. Similar to how we thought about commercials and who is this commercial demo for? Who are you serving? It's very similar with character-driven work. So when it comes to a video game or animation demo, think about who you're sending it to, who the buyers are, who the end users are. That's why a lot of people, and we also recommend having a video game demo or an animation demo, having them as two separate things, because they're serving two very different clients and very different mediums who are listening for very different things, which I'm sure we'll touch on as we go through. Also, when it comes to character work, anything that you put on a character demo, whatever kind of character demo it is, make sure it's a voice and a performance that you can sustain for at least 4 hours. Screaming, talking, whispering, battle, whatever it is, because these mediums are very vocally stressful. And so you, if you put, like, let's say you put a gruff troll voice on your demo, but you can only do it safely without losing your voice for 30 minutes, odds are you're going to get cast as that character, because those are very popular characters to have. You're going to get cast in that. They're going to hire you for a 4-hour session and you poop out in 30 minutes and the client's going to be very unhappy. So make sure anything that ends up on your demo is something that you can helpfully sustain for 4 hours.
Why 4 hours?
Video game and animation sessions are typically 4 hours. They cannot hold you more than 4 hours, so they top off at 4 hours. So yeah, they might be shorter, but typically they're 4 hours.
And nonstop, like nonstop, you probably are doing multiple characters that might have different vocal range, vocal prints, and you get 10-minute breaks. It's
absolutely,
it's definitely a game of stamina. So yeah,
absolutely.
And or they get your one character through like 12 episodes of
Yeah.
a thing
Right.
and all the emotions that those 12 episodes.
So
have
one minute
to-
you're crying and there's snot and
Yeah.
all that stuff. The next minute you're battle screaming. And
So before we jump, just one more note before we jump in. What would you say is the difference between an animation demo and a video game demo? What are the things that we're looking for, and how? I mean, ultimately, any demo needs to serve the person who's buying, right? So what is the person buying listening for? And then I think, how do you make that distinction, right?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. And this is something I've asked a lot of casting directors and agents about, what they listen for and what they are hearing and experiencing when people send them demos. So if you are interested in animation or video game, highly recommend either playing video games or watching gameplay and watching current animation. I get a lot of people who talk about, I loved cartoons when I was growing up, but they don't know what cartoons sound like today. The pacing is so fast. It is so fast. And so, no matter what kind of animation you're doing. So for an animation demo, what people are generally looking for, on top of, grounded characters, do I believe this character? Does it feel like a scene? Does it make me interested in this voice? Is it not annoying? On top of all of that, for an animation demo, we're looking for an understanding of animation pacing and comedy and variety.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things we're looking for. How many different voices do you have? If I hire you to be in an animated show, which is what we just dealt with, can you voice at least 3 different characters? Because if you get hired in animation, they're going to hire you for multiple characters unless you're a lead. If those 3 characters are in a same scene, do I know that it's one actor playing those 3 characters, or do I just believe it's 3 different characters?
Can you have a conversation with yourself?
Believably. So that's what we're listening for with animation. For video game, this is very cinematic. Video games today are very cinematic. And so what we're still listening for, on top of grounded characters we believe in, that we want to watch and want to participate in, we're listening for efforts. We're listening for dialects. We're listening for scene work. If I hire you to do a really emotional scene where someone is dying in your arms, can you do that? If you're leading troops into battle, do I believe that? If you say you can do a British accent, what kind of British accent? Can you do it in multiple different emotional ranges?
Can you sustain it for 4 hours and 4 sessions for 4 hours? Yeah.
Exactly. And so because I've heard this happen, like at Blizzard Casting, their games are very cinematic, which Tish, I know you've worked with them. When they get character demos that have like kooky characters that are wild and over the top, they've told me they get rid of those demos because they can't use those. Those are not appropriate for their games. They can't hear the cinematic acting that you're bringing. So that's why it's important to be focused on who your end user is and to focus on that and where you want to focus.
Yeah.
And also another way to think of it is like what your strengths are.
Yeah.
Like if you fancy yourself a really like dramatic, like really, kind of
over dramatic
character, actor, then video game might be the best place for your natural talents to shine, while you, and whatever. Or like if you're completely over the top and you're just this like wild character,
you love improv,
or you do, anything,
you have a million voices.
Then animation would definitely highlight those natural inclinations better. So it does also become this kind of balancing act of, okay, I want to do animation, but everything that I really love doing is like dark and cinematic. Well, then maybe to like get the work started, like lean into the video game realm and then see where that journey takes you, rather than trying to fit something into a box that like casting and game developers or animation casting directors are just going to swipe on, like the Blizzard example. Like, even though your characters might be amazing, it's just not what they're listening for. So it's they're going to pass on it.
Yeah. And two quick thoughts. One of the things we talk about in animation training at the dojo is finding the tune of the tone of the tune.
Mm-hmm.
So animation is not just animation, right? Because you could be listening to, Doc McStuffins, or you could be listening to a BoJack Horseman, and those are all animation, but it's really, really different, right? So understanding the tune of the tone and the energy and how you're able to deliver and understand each of those niches within the genre, right, is really important on a demo as well. And then, there's something else about video games. What was it? The thing that occurred to me as you were talking, Brittany, was it's almost like if you were to put all the things that we do in voiceover on a gradient or a spectrum, that video games actually would be more closely related to like on camera, like doing dubbing work. Like
100%.
Replacing voices in Squid Game, like Greg Chun or something like that, that it's like you're in the movie, but you're just doing the voice, and you're just doing the voice. So that's kind of an interesting way to think about it.
No, that's 100% true, which is why you see, especially in the big cinematic AAA games, a lot of film actors are voicing and playing the main character, because it's such an easy transition, because it's very cinematic and very story driven. Compared to animation, where sometimes it doesn't always translate. So yeah, let's listen to some.
Let's play.
See what happens. Cool. Well, I'll just start with the bees.
Hey, miss. I noticed you noticing me, and well, want to get a drink?
Over yonder, they'll steal your chickens.
Watch two of them kill me. Fine. If you think you got what it takes to face me.
In nothing but pain and...
Need to. Don't let me hold you back. A millimeter close to the gardens outside of her walls.
So super interesting. Just on a technical note, I don't think we mentioned this in the commercial thing, but industry standard now in terms of demo length.
Oh yes.
Commercial demos and animation and or video game demos, the expected length is 60 seconds. You have a few seconds, give or take, either side of that target thing. However, like just as Brittany said, like with Blizzard casting, how if they hear a kooky character on your video game demo or something like that, like it's a reason for them to say no. Length of a demo also is a way to show that you're not aware of what the current expectations are. So just something as simple as making sure that your demo comes in at around that 60-second mark does a lot to already set an expectation of trust with casting directors who are expecting your demo to be 60 seconds.
Yeah. And so what I would say, like with Brandon's, for example, there's a lot of similar voices and similar scenes already just clicking through. So you could cut half of them and we wouldn't lose anything.
Hone in on it,
Scene-wise, because a lot of them felt like they lived in the same place.
And I would also, to my ear, clicking through with Brandon's stuff, I think it slotted in with exactly what Brittany was talking about of why it's important to pick a direction and lean into the video game kind of cinematic side of things, or go a little bit more of the colorful, vibrant animation stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon had a mix of the two.
Yeah.
And it was really jarring clicking through. Like it was hard to connect with the characters that he was bringing, because I was just confused about where I was supposed to be calibrated. Like, am I supposed to be listening with a video game developer's ear, or am I supposed to be listening for
animation that leans more adult animation for Netflix? So it was a little confusing, and I felt like a lot of things that I want to hear in either an animation or video game demo, I didn't get.
So your recommendation is really, if you're going after video game, have video game, rather than a blend.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if there's like an animation. what if you could like pull like could you pull out samples? Like how do you like how would you have something that would deliver?
Well, it's kind of, it goes back to that question of like, who is your client? Who is the demo for? Video game developers don't care about animation characters. They care about the characters that are in their game and in their world, and that are representative of the video game tropes and genres and kind of stereotypes, for lack of a better word, versus animation casting directors. They're listening for the exact same things, but in the context of their work. Right. So if you present,
is this preschool? Is it for Disney XD? Is this for adult animation, teens, YouTube shows?
The different pacing and the comedy. Are you a utility player? Like,
are you a lead character?
All of these types of things. So it doesn't really serve anybody to be a mix of both, because the demo isn't really about, like, it's weird because it's like, this is the weird thing about demos is it's your voice and it's your personality, but it's not for you. It's for casting and making their jobs clear and easy of how they can connect with you and how they can instantly identify with what you do and what you're bringing to the table. And having that mix of things shows that it muddies the waters.
And so like actionable things, like for Brandon's case, for example, Brandon, if this demo is not getting you into the casting rooms that you want to be in, or getting you access to auditions or agencies that are either in animation or video game, I would say look at this demo and really focus on where do you want to be? What is going to serve your goals? Are you wanting to be in anime, animation, adult animation, kids animation, or do you want to focus more on video game stuff? And then listen to it with that ear and pare down.
Agreed. Yeah. Good stuff. Well, let's bop on to another. Where should we go?
Let's go to a girl.
Okay.
Gita.
Got it.
Don't tell me you're planning to hide me in a bomb shelter with limited oxygen only to send my family cryptic notes about how to find me in a race against. You don't understand. I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't enjoy hurting anybody. Problematic nor the safest form of communication with emotional beings. I know from experience. In the dog. Do fish ever get thirsty? A new study indicates that no. But you're not monkeys, are you? No, you're children. Children who act like monkeys.
Cool. So
that clearly is an animation demo.
Yeah.
Good job, Gita.
Just from a content point of view, like it came in at 1:06, which is excellent. And it was clearly an animation demo. There was nothing on there that felt like it belonged like in a video game thing. It was very clear who this demo was for.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the demo itself?
Yeah, there were some, I believed a lot of the voices. Some of them started pacing-wise feeling kind of similar. So if two characters were in the same scene together, I would know it's the same actress. And there were a couple of, like, based on the first vocal print, there were a couple of things I felt that were missing, like, that might be in the demo elsewhere, like a mom character, something sweet, something that would be in, like, a preschool show. And then the newscaster character didn't hit my ears quite right. So I think there needed to be a little more work on the news read for that. But, yeah. I liked
the thing that struck me is a lot of the same notes, Brittany. There's also, I think, in animation, one consideration you can one thing you can take into consideration is status. So all of these characters were kind of high status, and had variations of attitude. The last one made me laugh a lot. Of like you kids are driving me crazy. It made me laugh. So that's good. But I think that's an interesting way to approach how do you create variation of characters too. High status, neutral status, like a mom in a show, or oh really? I can even low status, right? So it's an interesting variation. What's that?
Someone who's maybe not the smartest is always fun.
Well, you could have high status, not smart people. It's just like, where are you in relation? So anyway, it's a bigger discussion, but that's interesting. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. Good job, Gita.
Where'd you next?
Tish, pick one for us to go to.
Let's do Jeff Burns.
Jeff!
Her name was Cindy. She wasn't just some woman, you ash-ridden freak. She was my wife! It has no meaning at all. Victory to our cause, death to our crew. It's all the same to... Have we not?
But seems dinner is ready.
East corridor! Taking heavy fire! Ah! Funny how things go. Help, that's my cue. My barbecue.
Definitely a video game demo. I hope you guys can hear the difference between Geeta's animation demo and this demo. Huge difference, both from scripts, performances, scene work, all that good stuff. Jeff, it's too long. There were some scenes that I thought the sound design overtook the acting and the voice. And that's something that I find really interesting and something to be aware of when it comes to animation and video game demos. It is very easy sometimes for these types of demos to become sound design demos and not to be about your voice and your acting. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that at the end of the day, and this is something Ryan and I are very attuned to, is making sure that at the end of the day, it's about your performance and your voice, not how cool the sound effects are and how many effects we can put on the voice to make it sound like you're a robot or whatever.
And where would you guys say in the continuum? Like, would you do something with just voice? Would you? It's somewhere in between. That's like, oh, that's a competitive demo.
No, it's not really. We don't. The way that we approach it is, again, like we approach the production side of things from a authenticity point of view, with an added sensitivity to that this is a voice demo. So, whereas in a show, you might take certain liberties with a character in terms of how you choose to process their voice or how, they're layered into the show. But even so, like, dialogue is always king, no matter what you're doing. If it's a video game or if you're watching, something on Cartoon Network, you never have any trouble hearing the dialogue.
Your ear always goes to what's being said first.
Yeah.
Because that's what tells the story.
Putting the picture in the room, not painting the walls bright turquoise, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's where like working with like an experienced producer comes in, where you're able to like make those creative choices in a more nuanced way and to make sure that the vocal is always the star, as it would be in any video game or story-driven, animation or things like that. So it's not really a scenario of like getting tricky with strategies of like, I'll include one with no voice, and then I'll do one with this, and then I'll do one with that. It becomes becomes much more like, what is the scene and what serves the thing? Because with a video game, JRPGs sound very different than first-person shooters that sound very different from
a cutscene versus a battle scene.
And right. I thought Jeff's demo really showed that range of what kind of games might be out there and what is needed to deliver. The first-person shooter sounded really real, and that's a pretty typical line in any generic.
Grenade!
Grenade.
No, totally. And I mean, Jeff. We know Jeff. He's a wonderful human and a friend, and Jeff, you crush like so much range and such like the scene work, fantastic. There were just some moments, and you guys might have heard it, that just felt the sound design overtook the acting and overtook the scene. So my ear wasn't going to the acting.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was really nice to have it. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the cool thing about this was it was so clearly a video game demo. So really great job with your branding.
Yeah, that's really helpful. Yeah. Okay. Let's do Nicola.
You got it.
Girl.
Stop! If he dies, he becomes a martyr. March him out beyond. I guess you were right. Long and hard, like a helmet. This bliss was on the young witch. Humans will be deleted.
What? Still on the air? Oh.
So really interesting contrast coming right out of these last couple of demos is this one fits in that kind of, for me, it fits in that in between of like, is it a video game? Is it for animation? We don't know. It feels really unfocused in that regard. And then from a, because of that, I feel like it was hard to connect with anything that she was doing, because I didn't have my barometer of, oh, I'm listening through an animation thing. And I think it's even called animation game, which is
so it feels like a mix already.
It feels like a mix. And then it was hard to calibrate. And I feel like that's a really important thing, is not to be taken for granted, is like, if you say it's a commercial demo, then like
we expect a commercial.
We're expecting a commercial, not a narration spot. If you say it's an animation demo, then we're expecting animation copy, characters, scenes, and stereotypes, not video game stuff. And so it does a lot for your listener to clarify how they should be relating to the work that you're doing.
You're telling them how to listen.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like, you don't, when you're listening to your favorite music artist, like if they sing country music and all of a sudden they do like EDM, you'd be like, what the what? Like, I have no idea what's going on.
I didn't want this.
So that's a really helpful way to think about it, is like, make sure that you're setting the expectation clearly.
At the start.
That being said, like within the demo itself, I felt like we were missing a lot of production value and strong scene work.
Yeah, and I would say a lot of the voices, lovely voice, but a lot of them lived in the same space, even with different accents thrown on. It still all felt like the same person. So I think more work needs to be done on the scene work. Will definitely help. The more focus on putting you in different places and having different things happening and different stakes, I think would do a lot. To help with that.
And I would say like something actionable that we could like kind of take away from these last couple of demos that we've heard is, the vocal prints are cool. And even though you might have a large range in terms of how you can manipulate your voice, the perception of that vocal print comes from your scene work. And it comes from being really clear about where you are in relation to everything that's happening. Like, very rarely in any animation show or any video game is your character going to be like alone and like just talking to themselves. So like paying attention to,
unless they're crazy.
So paying attention to like where you are in relation to who you're talking to, like where you are in physical space, what the stakes of the moment are, and do they change
in the scene?
Like, is there a moment where like you're looking over a cliff and you're like, wow, this thing looks really deep, and then the rocks fall out from under you, and we hear that in the performance. So this is where scripts become really important. Like scene work becomes so important to have these twists and turns and ebbs and flows, even within a particular character, to show, hey, I can sustain this character, print and energy and live them in these different emotional stakes.
And also age ranges are important too. That was something you reminded me. I felt that all the ages were the same. So that's also something to play with. What does a teenager sound like for you? 20s? What is the 40s? 90s? Like play with different ages, because that's so important to show off. Because listening for, casting wise, I want to know, okay, she can play 20 to 60. Cool. I have that in my brain. But if everything is at the same age range, I don't know if you can play other age ranges.
Right. And Nicola's accent work is impeccable. It's and if you do accents, how would you approach that?
Accents. So multiple different things. So if you do accents naturally and it fits in a commercial setting, like that is a specialty of yours, definitely have a because Tish, I know this is a specialty of yours. You want to advertise that, and also potentially have a demo that's like, here's me speaking conversationally in this accent that sounds natural. In a video game or animation context, again, it's for animation. over the top, silly. Think about the audience you're serving. Is it funny? Is it fun? Is it fast paced? For video games, yeah, sprinkle them in. But again, you want to make sure that even though, like for in this instance, because she had so many accents, they were fantastic, but they all lived in a very similar place. So it all felt like the same actress doing it. And so I didn't, my brain wasn't like, oh, that's a fantastic accent. What a cool scene. What a cool character. It just felt like her doing different accents.
Right.
Something structurally that you can do to kind of help set our expectations is if accents and dialects and things are a specialty of yours and you're leaning into that, say on your video game demo, something really common and that a lot of casting agents really appreciate is make the first spot on your demo something short, but that uses your natural voice, and then
jump off
from there into your things. So you could have just like a very short snippet of you like doing a very short bit of a scene with just your natural voice. And then when you pivot into that first dialect, it's a really cool color shift. And it also gives them a really cool jumping off point of, wow,
that's cool.
That's really different. So that's kind of something that you can experiment with. If the dialects and accent thing is a forte for you, experiment with having something in your natural voice set the expectation of your demo. And then when you pivot, it feels that much crazier and that much more like, holy crap, they just went from like sounding 20 to sounding 500-year-old alien creature. Like they're amazing. And it really kind of serves you that way.
Well, let's do one more. And then
we're already past the time.
Okay. Yeah, or should we do questions? Tish, what do you think? Should we do one more or like jump over to
Let's
questions?
see. We're going to, what time is it there? It's 12. We've got 20. So if we did one more, then we'd have 20 minutes for questions. Does that seem right?
Let's do it. Let's do it. And again, guys, if we didn't get to your demo, don't panic. Reach out to all of us. We will go through your demo.
We will listen. And to be clear, we will listen to your entire demo.
Yes. Not just
and go through it that way.
Yeah.
You know, this is just a very particular way we're doing it for
because we had over 50 submissions.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And you know what, guys? The other thing. Well, let's finish this, and I'll share this other thought about as we segue into questions. Okay, who's
pick one? Let's go, TJ.
TJ.
Never thought it all end here. But at least I'm not going out alone. After all, what is the meaning of this? I was certain I was being summoned by a capable sorcerer. Promised. And a little something for your partner there. You never told me the targets were
properly suit you for your galactic needs.
Cool range.
Interesting. So clearly a video game demo, labeled as a video game demo.
Good job.
Excellent. Timing right around that 60-second mark. Excellent. In terms of the flow of the demo, production-wise, I felt like this demo fell into that category of being the vocal being overshadowed by a lot of the sound design stuff. Something maybe to listen at with a fresh ear to make sure that it feels like how these things actually feel. Because working in video games, they're not mixed like that. And so you want to make sure that things feel, a little bit more authentic from that point of view. Performance-wise, for my ear, I thought there was a really cool range, but all of it came at the very end.
Like that old guy, I was like, oh, cool. And then, and
so what I would experiment with in terms of this specific demo for TJ is I would experiment with taking some of those last few spots, like the last 2 or 3,
sprinkle in the middle,
and bring them more to the front in order to get more of a high contrast scenario between the characters.
Yeah.
Because especially when it comes to character stuff, surprise is your best friend.
Yes.
Like being subtle about like, look at my subtle gradation of characters as I flow through like angry to less angry to happy to
no, I want like
to
you're
delighted.
crying to you're over the top excited to like you're mumbling to yourself in an awkward way. Like it needs to be dramatic. That's what's going to catch our ear and make it feel even more like your range is insane.
Yeah. So what's interesting, and I love that this was kind of our ending thing, is I feel like TJ is a great performer and has a lot he's bringing to the table in terms of his video game branding, but the structure and presentation of the demo is letting him down, and that he may not be being represented in all of that he
his
can do,
awesomeness,
and all of his awesomeness, simply because a lot of the variety comes at the end of the demo, and a lot of the sound design and production
is overwhelming.
Is super overwhelming. All fun things to consider. So I guess with that,
Tish, you're on mute.
Oh, there she is.
I saw her mouth
Sorry,
open like she was.
There's tractors going on here. I don't know if I can hear them, but I don't know if you can hear them.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had a thought as well, because I saw your mouth starting to move, and I was like,
speaking of that, actually, my question has to do with this. Where would anime fit in this? Would you make a separate anime thing, or would you have a peppering of anime in your animation?
That's a great question. So, it depends. It totally depends on your goals. Anime lives in this wonderful gray world where it feels like a little bit of everything. So either demo could serve you as a great introduction to anime. So if I I work a lot in anime and I don't have an anime demo, and I sent them my animation demo, which gave them a good idea of my age range and what my different, the age ranges I could play and the range of voices I could do. And so that got me the introduction. I have friends who have done it with their video game demo. So they can serve multiple things. But if anime is your ultimate goal, that's like, this is where I want to work, this is where I want to focus, then make an anime demo. Specificity is never a bad thing when it comes to demos and when it comes to putting something together and serving a particular part of the industry. Because just like any other industry, you wouldn't send your accountant love letters that you've received. They'd be like, what am I supposed to do with this? So think
lawyer,
of it like,
but not your accountant.
Right, maybe, yeah. So just think about who you're serving and who what doors you want it to open. Let that get you started, and then pivot from there.
Yeah. And then I think. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was just gonna say, like, usually that brings up this like immediate thing of like, well, I need to make all these demos and I need to have all these things before I can blah 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 blah, and like no, like you're fine, you're good, like
you don't need to make a million demos.
Like it's okay. Like in terms of it all depends on your goals and it all depends on where you're going. But like Brittany was saying, these different demos, kind of these big three, like your commercial. We didn't touch on narration today. That's its own thing, but that fits in its own category. And then your video game and or your animation stuff, like they will serve a lot of different purposes and will give casting the range that they need to hear in order to like fill in the gaps of what you can do. And then let your jobs and let your bookings and let your
interest
drive you to get more specific as you go.
Yeah.
That is not a scenario where you need to have 1,200 different demos before you could even think about working. You can start working and submitting yourself through whatever avenues you have available right now, like immediately after the webinar. You can do it right now with 0 demo. Eventually you'll come to a place where people are asking for a particular thing, and that is the best time to make a demo is, hey, can you send me your commercial demo? Oh shit, I don't have one.
I guess I should make
one. Okay, now I've got that. Oh man, I've been booking a lot of video game stuff. Hey, so-and-so, like I want to consider you for this indie game my friend is doing. Like, can you send me your video game reel? Oh shit, I don't have one. Right. I should make one. Let that be the process of making your demos, not
I need to make 40 demos at the beginning of my VO journey.
Exactly.
Where I am right now. Because
and I think that also goes to, demos are a demonstration of where you're at right now with your skill set. And so as you continue, as you work more, as you do things more, your skills are going to continue to, it's kind of like headshots more than a silver platter that is etched, right? It's more
at
like
least they
headshots.
last a lot longer than headshots.
Yeah. right. But still, there's an evolution that you bring. So yeah. Awesome. Cool.
We did it.
We did it, and we've got a lovely amount of time for your questions. One of the things that we emphasize at the dojo is, we're here to share information, but really the most important things is that we open up things and present things so you can ask good questions. Because if you have the skills to ask good questions, you will always be able to find the answer, right? And at the dojo, we also provide answers when you ask good questions, and we ask any questions. But there's something about what we opened up today gives you another perspective that you can ask those next layers of specific questions, right? So let's have Jeffrey be our guide of the questions. I know there's been some good ones popping up along the way. So Jeffrey, who has a question? So we'll put them in the chat, and then we'll call you to bring your voice into the room.
Yeah, so when I call your name, either message me if you don't want to bring your voice in, but you can unmute yourself and ask directly. So first one I had was Anne Grice. Go ahead and pop on in. You had a question about
the writer.
No, Griced.
Oh,
not,
Grice. I heard Rice. I was like,
yeah, I think that would be from Beyond the Grave too. I think, but I don't think Anne's.
Oh,
Is Anne still
maybe she
here?
had to bounce. Well, I'll pose her question so that she can watch the replay. For political demos, is it a good idea to have a separate demo for regional and local?
yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah, political demos are obviously like their own thing.
Yep.
And I just wanted to say that because we get asked that question a lot in terms of, I'm interested in political stuff. Should I include that on, say, my commercial demo?
Or narration demo.
In our experience, it's best to keep your political work on its own individual demo. That way you're serving that particular clientele because they're listening for very specific things. So just to keep it simple. That being said, in terms of political, regional versus national, and having different demos for each,
I don't think you need to be that nuanced.
I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that particular. Maybe if you, again, it depends on who your clients are. If a lot of your clients are high profile and you're wanting to make sure that
federal level,
and you're wanting to make sure that your work speaks to them, that you can handle that level of clientele, then it might be a good idea to limit the scope of your demo to like just that hardcore heavy work, to make sure that perception of you as being like a luxury voice talent, I suppose,
that works on a big scale,
is there and is working for you. However, if you're just like, I just want to work in political VO, and like I want to just make sure that I'm being represented well and I have the best chances on my demo of success, then I don't think it's necessary to split them up that way.
But I think that distinction, the distinction of where does your voice serve? What market are you looking for work in? Where are you at, and where you want to be? That also goes for your commercial demo. Of, are you, we want to have, like, is it a national campaign sort of demo, or is it? Is it something that you want a little, either a peppering of, and I can do this? You see what I'm saying? It's like little nuances. And, I don't know where you live, but like, I know when I go to Phoenix, where my mom's TV is on all day long, which is kind of unusual in terms of lifestyle now. But you can hear the national ads, and you can hear the local and regional ads, right? You can hear the difference, the feel of it. So, yeah. So what the client is looking for is different, right? Yeah. Okay. Good. let's get a person who's actually here. Yay. Who's next, Jeffrey?
Sorry, I lost my button. That would be Nicole C. Page, about demo links. Come on in.
Hi, you all. Thank you so much. It's so enlightening. Pages full of notes.
Good.
And the question was, so you said 60 minutes for the whole, but then how much per each segment to establish?
60 seconds. That would be a
60 seconds.
really, really ambitious demo.
That's a great question. So it all depends on your branding. Totally depends on your branding. So let's take a commercial demo, for example. There are no hard and fast rules for how long each section of each spot is. There are no rules. How we like to approach it, and everybody's different, it's another way to serve your branding. Mm-hmm. So for example, I get hired a lot to do really energetic, fast talking, young, whatever, commercial campaigns. So I have a lot of short clips on my reel that gives that image of energy and fast paced and things are moving always. For someone who maybe has a more anthemic voice and it's more warm and comforting and trusting and it's a voice you want to depend on, you might want to have fewer spots that are longer because it just takes a little more time to take up that space. So there are no rules.
Yeah, but it's another opportunity to reinforce your branding, like what Brittany was saying. And it's also like I think it's important. It's a really cool way to help you get more specific about your kind of primary adjectives about how you're describing yourself. Because something that we run into a lot, like in conjunction with this question, is people are like, oh, well, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'm an actor. I can do anything. I can, like, the sky is the limit. And it's like, well, obviously, like, of course, because you're an actor, fine. However, like, your phone is going to ring not because you can do anything. It's going to ring because you do something that resonates with people in a really clear way.
That is just you.
That's yours. You know what I mean? And so the branding and kind of the how many spots on the demo and what all becomes this presentation of what those primary descriptors are for you, and using the number of spots on your demo and the order of them and how it all kind of comes together as this big Tetris pie to represent those adjectives. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
No, that's super helpful.
And I think it's also that we are it's rather than thinking of a demo as a linear thing. Yes, there is a linear element to it, but what happens within that space is more like creating a composition, right? Or a garden, right? Like you'd have, this is the main thing, and then there's little bits of this and that. Like you can pepper things in to get a different feeling or a contrast. So what and how the rhythm of what happens on that ride is really what makes your demo unique. Because if everyone was like blap, 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 there's that, that's the art form of making a demo too, right? So
yeah. Like that garden metaphor, that's really clear. And then just like as little sub question that, because this is all very helpful for, like you're mentioning in the animation reel, setting the scene, is there like a minimum amount of time that you've observed that it requires to reorient the listener, or just it really depends on the whole painting?
Yeah, it really comes together in that
you can tell a whole story in 1.5 seconds.
Like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Oh my god! Like, what happened? Like, that was, like, that was not super clear. It seemed like I'm psychotic, but a lot happened in a little bit. But if you respond really specifically, a lot can happen in a short story, right?
Yeah. Well, and that's for example, part of our process, and again, every demo producer is different. Part of our process is what we do, especially when it comes to character work, because, as actors, it's hard to just drop into a scene immediately for your demo, right? So what we do is we like to write, we write all original scripts based on, branding, characters, all that good stuff. And so we like to write more than what's going to end up on your finished demo. So we can have the time to create that scene and spend a little more time. So altogether that one scene is kind of long, like would take up your whole demo. But then in the editing room, we can cut it down to the most exciting, most dynamic moments. So when it's in the process of the whole demo, that's what shines.
Yeah. Dynamic. That's a really cool word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Good.
you.
Yes,
Yeah,
of
thank
course.
you.
Thank you.
All right. So the next one is kind of summing up a few questions. Pangea posed it first, and a few people asked this to kind of go into more specificity about video games and animation. But Pangea, go ahead and unmute yourself and
And the word
pose
for
your question.
coolest name goes to Pangea.
Well, it's actually Panya, like
Panya, okay.
España or Champagne.
Sorry, Panya.
Yeah.
Equally cool.
I mean, I'm someone who's coming back. I lived in Germany, where I'm in New York now, but I lived in Germany and I fell into a lot of things, animating a fish, doing voiceover, corrections, or trailers and things like this. So my interest in animation versus some of the nonviolent video games, that was the question. How does one make a tape that is not going to be that flashy, violent video game, and still be not considered an animation tape? I know I'm not saying I wrote it better, Jeffrey.
No, I
but that was, that's when the woman who came up with the voice of the witch and all these things and one of these wonderful characters, but you said, oh, it sounded more like animation. How do we really, if we're not going for the violent games, make it still clear that we are a video game demo and not an animation?
I think it's going to be really level of violence is a huge thing. 90% of video games, unless you're doing kids app games, are going to have some level of violence in them. And you won't always know that until you're in the game.
You won't even know what character you're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Sometimes you'll just show up and because everything's code named and nobody says anything. So if things that have any kind of violence in them is something you are not interested in, don't want to be a part of, I would not invest in a video game reel because I don't think that's going to serve you. Now, if you want to do like kids app games where it's like maybe a little more educational and it's, you're teaching kids how to do things and interacting with children, that can be your focus. And that will lean a little more animation wise, but the pacing will be slower. So and the production will feel and sound different.
Yeah, the production will do a lot to differentiate those things as well. Because like when you're listening to it, if you were to close your eyes, if you were to go to Netflix and pick like the top animated show on Netflix and close your eyes and listen to an episode and then go on YouTube and type in some top video game gameplay and close your eyes and listen.
It's going to feel real different.
They are night and day different. And so even from that standpoint, you have the production being able to differentiate things from you. So like Brittany said, like a lot of video games do have some sort of things in there. That being said, there are puzzle games and detective games and all sorts of things that you can lean into. So I think the answer to your question is not as straightforward as I would like it to be, but I think it becomes in doing your research and understanding more about video games, because it is kind of a broad generalization to be like video games equal violence. Not the case.
Yeah.
But
you don't always get that choice.
Well, in the
right.
Yeah, we're not talking about bookings. We're talking about the demo. Yeah. You know what I mean? So on the demo, you can choose what you want to include on there. And then again, through the production and through some of your script choices, you can make it very clear that this is in the video game realm and not the animation realm, even though there's no violence in there.
And then I think all of this is storytelling, right? So Panya, where does your voice fit into a first-person shooter game? Because there's a general, or there is the president of the country, or there is, or there's the computer voice or something like that. So where does your voice fit in that you don't have to be doing the grenade and let's shoot them and I'm dead.
Right, Tish, but the thing is, again, I know we're all up for money, but I'm also an artivist, and I have a lot of character voices, and I love that. So, of course, animation is something like that, but I'm also hoping I know as a game player, I am a game player, that I look for the nonviolent ones.
Yeah.
And I know that even the RPGs, that they're getting very specific about bodies. So,
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
create a demo where the demo producer goes, she would be perfect for this, right?
Yeah.
Is it Call of Duty? No. Okay. But she would be perfect for this, right? And then with everything, one of the first things we say in our You Should Do Voiceover intensive is, and like really just neutrally saying this, not charged at all, but this is an art form that serves commerce, and we all have to find our way to come to terms with that, get through it or don't do it, and then also figure out how you create your structure around that, right? But we all set our parameters, and we all understand, and that doesn't have to be that commerce. Then the commerce serves your art form, right? So that's the beautiful.
Exactly.
So yeah,
That's beautiful. Thank you all. Thank you.
Cool. We are right at the top of the hour. So why don't we, let's see, where you guys got to run? I would imagine you got sessions.
We can take a couple.
Okay.
A couple more questions. Let me just make sure nobody got on our calendar for right after this.
Yeah.
Do you want to do like rapid fire?
Yeah. Let's do a wrap up for anybody who does need to leave right now, and then we'll do a little rapid fire afterwards. And then again, everybody, we're so looking forward to getting to talk to each of you about where you're at and how we can help you get to where you want to be. And hopefully this is all helpful. If you want to put we wrap up every time we get together at the dojo, put your dojo O in. So that's, of all the things we covered, what's one thing that made you go, oh, and put it in its most concise form so you can sign off with that. Jeffrey, how do we get in touch with everybody?
So Ryan and I have both been putting links in the chat. You can email info@thevodojo.com if you have questions. Sign up for voiceover once over with us by going to our website or by going to thevodojo.com/VOO. That's Victor Oliver. And for Brittany and Ryan, you can check out nextlevelvoicedemos.com. And they have a link at the very bottom of that homepage where you can set up a 15-minute consultation call with them.
And there's also at the right under that, if you want to just shoot us an email, our email address is also under there. So
yes,
easy.
It's still the sea and shore. I'll put it in the chat as well.
It's studios.saltandsea@gmail.com.
Perfect. I'll pop that in the chat really quick too.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Cool. And what else? So really love that so many are here, and hope you all got a lot out of it. You know what I wanted to say as a wrap up too? I saw a few people going, I'm nervous. It's like a lot of what we do here at the dojo is creating opportunities where you can stand and put yourself forth. Sharing your voice and sharing your truth is vulnerable. So putting yourself forward is a little vulnerable. And then we always create safe places that you can do this and explore and get feedback, and that it's all good. It's all good. And then a lot of what we do is also that internal training, right? Because we all have things that are like, ugh, and that we get through, and then we recognize in everybody. So yeah. All right. So if you got a roll, thank you. Do we need to take pictures or can we just let this be? Jeffrey, let's do it. Okay.
Oh, there's a lot of folks on the call. I think we can
we're good. We don't want to leave anybody out of the photo. I think we're all right.
Okay. We'll just say there were so many people. It was a big festival. We couldn't even capture it visually. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's do like maybe 10 more minutes of rapid fire questions.
Yeah, that sounds
and then
great.
of course, if your question didn't get answered or more questions have come up, we will talk to you more.
Yeah. So Maybe because there is still a chunk, if I could direct these at just 1% of the time, and I'll go in
Yes,
rotation.
that's so smart. You're so smart. You're so pretty. You're so smart. Let's do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'll start with Ryan then. What are your thoughts on demos without music, sound effects, demos that are being asked for raw, just voice only?
Oh, sure. I mean, it depends. I know that that is kind of a rising thing with online sites, like the pay-to-play sites sometimes request those, or we've even had international clients where their agents have asked for those. It's kind of a case-by-case basis. Industry standard, especially when it comes to commercial, video game, and animation stuff, is a fully produced 60-second demo. So like if it is sonically appropriate or scene appropriate for you to not include sound design and music in a snippet on your demo, so be it. Who cares? It's great. However, it's not a hard and fast rule, and it's not something where you need to be like, I need to adhere to this very strictly and whatever. Just like kind of like what we've been talking about the whole day today is, especially in Brittany and I's process, there are no rules per se. However, everything on your demo is an opportunity to clarify your branding and to showcase where you're going and what types of jobs you want to be booking. So it's just going through that filter might help make some of those decisions for you of whether or not just a dry voice demo is your best bet. Like maybe you're a bomb character actor and doing like some super emotional thing with no support is just going to rock people's worlds. Do it.
Yeah.
Maybe not, and just let those choices guide that decision rather than being like, here's the formula for how to do this.
And I suppose it would be kind of just riffing a little here. Like if you were presenting, you would choose something that you would want to. It would be almost like doing an a cappella song, right? Versus doing a song with a whole music bed, right? So you would choose a song that would highlight what you could do a cappella, or you could choose a clip or something. I don't know. It just seems like there'd be lots of things to differentiate. Like you wouldn't want to hear this song
as well. Like if you if your agent or your requirement is to present a demo with dry voice, that's a conversation to have with your producer. That way, like for us, like when we have clients that do that, like I mentioned, some of our international clients, like we will do 2 different versions for them. We'll do kind of the American version, which is fully produced, and it's what the expectation is, like based out of LA and New York. And then we'll also give them a version of their demo that's just the dry voice that will satisfy the requirements for their other agents and stuff. So it's just another part of the conversation, but I wanted to be clear that it's not a hard and fast rule. And if you are going to do it, make it a creative choice as opposed to I need this choice.
Because it's not everybody's going to need it. And so.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so much for rapid, because there's too much to explore in every question. But here we go. What's next, Jeffrey?
I'll pose this one to Brittany next. So slates with demos, is that currently, are slates in or are they out today? And is it, if they're out, then starting with a normal tone versus jumping right into character?
Oh, that's a great question. Yes. I love those combined. Perfect. So slating for a demo, you don't need to do that. That's for back in the day when we had tapes and you didn't have files labeled. So that way when people put a bunch on one tape, you knew who you were listening to. Nowadays with MP3s, we can see your name. So just make sure your name's in the label. So don't worry about slating, especially for demos. And even for, I'm seeing a lot more auditions where people are asking for no slates. So if you're auditioning, make sure you read the rules of what they want, if they want a slate or no slate. It's a little nugget. That's a great question about character demos. So talking to casting directors and voice directors who are working in the industry, both for video game and animation, what they love to hear is your natural voice, who you are as a character, something that lives very close to you as your first spot. Then that way they know, okay, here's kind of where their baseline is, where they live. And then they want to hear your range and the different characters that you play. Like, for example, I'm kind of an energetic kind of tomboy kind of gal. I like doing sports and things like that. So my first spot on my animation demo is kind of my natural voice doing a tomboy skater thing. And then I go off onto a bunch of other different things. And so find a character that lives close to you and your experience and who you are walking into a room and start there.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Awesome. Thank you.
Nothing left to be said.
Great. I think this one is best posed to Tish then. So what are ways that people can really hone in on their voice print or the kind of demos or the kind of thing that would really put their foot in the door and put their strongest voice forward?
Okay. So the first thing of any of this work is knowing who you are and what you're bringing to the party, right? So first you have to explore what is out there, right? Some of you coming to this call might go, oh, wait, I didn't even think of that, right? And then there's little niches within the niches, right? With niches within the genres, right? So understand what the party is and what the game is, right? Like, oh, wow, all these opportunities. Then understand what you are bringing to the party. You authentically, you, not the idea of what you can do with your voice, just authentically you. What are you bringing to the party? Then the next question is, what are you interested in, right? You may have a great voice for audiobooks, and the actual thought of doing an audiobook might want to make you blow your brains out, right? The actuality of doing an audiobook. Alternatively, you may sound like Minnie Mouse, but want to do very serious things. So you got to kind of like get those in alignment. The way we approach it at the dojo is we train in our full training program. First of all, we give it time. It's a 14-month full training program. We don't go like, and it's 6 weeks, make a demo, because what we're doing is training for the sustained successful career. So this is getting there. So the other thing about, so I'm sorry, the finish of that thought, we train to get a commercial and a narration demo, right? Because those are the things that are going to, narration demo, you can start working before you finish your training, right? And commercial demo is really you understanding you, right? So you can book all sorts of stuff off your commercial demo because it's you. Someone can go like, oh, that would be great on this promo, or this would be perfect for this narration or this explainer video, right? So it's about knowing you first. The other thing is that I don't think anyone who has a successful career right now has the luxury of just doing one thing. Like everybody needs to be as diversified as possible. Does everybody need to do everything? No, but it behooves you to be able to do have as many different, a diversified portfolio, have many different ways that you are earning income or are able to play the game, right? So when Brittany, in a course of your day, what you get from A3, it could be like, if I look down my audition list, like something to do, voice for the Colbert Show, a commercial for this, a video for this, a medical narration, this animation show, like when you step into the game at whatever level, what's going to be put forward to you, it behooves you to be able to do as much as you can, as well as you can, and understand how to, pick up a racket if you've never played tennis.
It's a journey and a process.
Yeah. So I think sometimes people go like, well, what would I be best at? I'm like, well, there will be things, right? Whose demo did we listen to that was like, wow, that's a great narration voice, right? That was awesome. Like, I bet you he's working all the freaking time in narration because he's got that sport down, right? Mm-hmm. And then how do we branch out and make our other genres competitive as well in our version? So I think that's, but you don't think of anything in this as linear, and don't think that there's any way like, aha, here's the exact recipe, and we will follow it with 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder, and then la. It's not that. You got to know what's going on, what you're trying to make, and everyone's unfolds everyone unfolds as it will, right?
It's
So-
less exact than baking and more experimental like cooking can be.
Right? Bring it back to
Let's
the
just
food
keep
metaphor.
more food metaphors all the time.
let's get some lunch, guys.
That was a very crunchy question. How are we doing on time? I got a couple more quick ones.
We could do one more question.
All right, one more round. So super lightning round. Ryan, volume. Some of the demos seem a little louder than others. Is there a rule of thumb as far as volume in a demo?
Oh, sure. Great question. So yes, yes and no. For demos, the way that we approach our work is I do them to an industry accepted standard because I mix things other than just demos. And so it's a little technical because it's the only way to answer this question is there is such a thing as a loudness meter. It is not a peak meter. It is not an average meter. It is called a loudness meter. And you want your loudness meter to be hitting -18 on your loudness meter with no peaks above -1. Like, it is very technical. I understand.
And if you don't understand it, like me, it's fine.
It doesn't.
Don't worry.
It doesn't matter.
You're an engineer.
But yes, there is an acceptable loudness standard that allows you to. The only reason it is an acceptable loudness standard is because it allows you to easily hear things across no matter where you're listening. If you're listening on your phone, on a computer, on really nice headphones or speakers, it's just there as a catch-all to make sure that when everybody is listening to your demo, nobody has any trouble like what we had today, where some demos were like, holy crapola, and then others were like, what are they saying? It eliminates that thing. So yes, there's a lot of great resources to look into, and I can answer more questions with that on our 15-minute call, but
you don't need to be that technical as a voice artist.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Great.
Is that the one question, or we're going to do one each?
One each. So the next one is, or I should ask you guys, is it like one more round? Okay.
Yeah.
Brittany, I think this is a really important question. So music and copyright claims or scripts that belong to certain companies or entities that are known for being very protective of their properties. Are there any like hard rules of like, do not tread here or do not use?
So perfect. This is perfect because I write all the scripts for our clients. So I love this question. So this is a question you need to ask any demo producer you work with. The standard now is that your demo producer should be writing you a original copy based on real clients. Nothing should be pulled out of a box. Nothing should be a campaign that's currently airing or currently auditioning. Everything should be original. That being said, you're going to base how we do it, or how we do it is we take current campaigns and we use that to inspire us to write scripts that feel very similar to the campaigns that clients have out right now. And we use their tag because it's the client's tag. That's not private. You can't get in trouble for that. And we use their actual names. Music-wise, I wouldn't recommend putting popular pop songs on your demo. What we do is we pay for, what is it called?
Well, we have a bunch. I have a very large library of production music. I've also been known to write music if it's faster for me to get what I want into the thing.
And so by any producer you work with should be paying for some sort of music sound library, so they have access to all of this stuff, so they have the rights to use these things in demos. I would not recommend stripping it down from YouTube. That's not a great idea.
Yeah, you definitely want to be careful. Like, you can't use just any old song. There are libraries that are specifically licensed for like use, and so you pay the annual fee to access the library, and you are then cleared to use that work in a different medium, like your demo or whatever it is. But script-wise, that's the big thing.
That's the big thing. And so we actually just had a phone call with a client who worked with a demo producer yesterday. She got her demo back and saw that actual commercial on Peacock as a current, like word for word. She was so upset. And so we're redoing her whole demo and she had to get her money back from this producer because it's currently running. It's a real campaign. And so that's why we're all about authenticity and making things feel real and feel familiar, but totally unique to you. So it's only you, nothing is distracting. And we've also, in previous demo derbies, when it comes to character work, same rules apply. We've had so many people pull out scripts that they've used in a workshop, an animation workshop or video game workshop. I know all those scripts. And so I was like, oh, that's Ludo. That's from Amphibia. That's from this game. That's from this show. And I know those people didn't book those roles. So you want to make sure everything is unique, nothing is distracting, and nothing is just pulled straight from a source. It can be inspired by, but you don't want to pull anything directly.
And should be.
You want something that's uniquely yours. You're paying for this. It should be yours and something unique and special to you that shows off everything that's cool about you.
And especially working with a demo producer that doesn't make it convenient for them. Like there's some demo producers like, well, here's this. And then you hear different demos produced by the same person. It's the same spot. It's like, ooh.
It's another reason to say no. And I've heard it from casting. If they hear the same spot, like there's this chocolate spot that every female has on their demo.
Yay,
savor, sip, and sigh. Everyone has it.
It's like an overused audition song, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You go like, okay, yeah. And then there's moments like when you become prototype. I remember I met one of my amazing colleagues through the audiobook world, and then when she's like, oh, listen to my commercial demo, and I was like, that's my Citibank spot. Awkward. Awkward. Okay. I was flattering to be a prototype, but yeah.
So yeah, authenticity, originality, great question to ask your demo producer. Go with it as you will. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, that's great. And then last question, I'm going to pose it to Tish and open it up in case there's other inputs. So with a lot of variety and range, how much cutting of demos is too much? Like creatures, separate demo, yes. Characters, separate demo, yes. Should you have a hero and a villain demo? Should you have a background demo? How much is too much?
I think it at first, I think the thing that we were talking about earlier about allow the course of your journey to differentiate where it serves you to differentiate, right? So you don't, at first that you can do a hero and you can do a villain and you can do a creature. That will give you a general, like I can do, here, I'll create a metaphor. Okay. We have red, we have yellow, we have blue, right? Out of those, we can make all of the colors, right? We just add a little white or we add a little black. But so that I know that you can do red, yellow, and blue. Then, let's hear her purple, right? When we do blue and red together, what can she do in the purple? Oh, let's do lavender versus magenta, right? Oh, let's go into, so it's kind of like, but does that mean you need every shade of blue from baby blue to midnight blue on your demo? No, right? Or are you just going to be hired for doing blue? So that may be a little esoteric, but differentiate by need. And in terms of running your business, a demo is a hard cost. It's an expense for running your business, and it's part of your investment in your business. So use that wisely, right? Even making an anime demo, unless it is like you're burning yearning, this is all you want to do in the world. Anime does not pay that well. So actually, to make money doing anime, you need to actually get on a great show and then go to conventions and sign things. Like that's how you make money, and you get followers and stuff. So that's the value. But actually paying your bills and paying for, you'd have to do a lot of anime sessions to pay, for a $1,500 anime demo, right? So if you're in that place, you see what I'm saying? So just, make wise business choices as well.
Yeah. Like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and just to like make it really clear, like I've never heard of like a villain demo, and a hero demo. Like those are things that is what contributes to the sonic variety and the ebbs and flows of what would be included on a video game or an animation demo. So I would say that is
that's part of the variety.
that is part of the variety, and like that would be considering taking it too far of like thinking on that microscopic level. Like zoom way, way, way out, look at the forest rather than the trees, and be like, I'm in the video game forest. What are all the different characters that are in my wheelhouse that live in the video game forest? And pick the best ones to make up your 60-second video game forest. And then go over to your animation forest and do the same thing if you're interested in working in that. And be like, in my animation forest,
here's this.
What are all the different things that I can do that contribute to my animation forest? And then pick the best ones to make your 60-second animation demo, and like, call it a day.
And like what Tish said, clients are smart. If you can do a serious hero voice and you have a kooky villain voice, they assume you can do the things in between. Like you don't need to spell it out, because then I guarantee you're going to lose the range.
Yeah, keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Video game forest, animation.
And
keep it simple.
Pork chops.
Pork chops.
Cook your food all the way.
Right, it's amazing. I'm still in awe with how many people we had submit demos, like that attended the call. Like we love doing this, all three of us. Well, four of us now with Jeffrey. And, I mean, this is always such a fun time, and like our hope is always that we've illuminated part of the process and how to like look at demos and hopefully some actionable things that if you're about to make a demo or you're unsatisfied with your demo, some actionable things that can help you move forward and, get to that next step.
Yeah. Oh, and you know what? I'll finish up with one story in terms of like when you are ready to do demo. This is a moment that was absolutely critical and crucial. It was a turning point in my voiceover career. I arrived from Chicago having booked some stuff. I knew when I arrived in LA, I was like, that is what I'm going to do. And I was like, I'm training, I'm meeting all the people, I'm doing all the things. Yeah. What do you know? I got to a point 10 months in going, okay, I think I'm ready to make a demo. I worked with a producer, and we did a private coaching, and she said, you are 98% ready, and I am not going to produce your demo. And I was like, Gah. She said, you have to be 110% ready. You have to be 130% ready to jump into the game full force. And so, she referred me to a working pro level thing. And then I went back to the drawing board for another 6 months. And when I did that extra time to be 110, 130% ready, boom, I got an agent, and then it took off. But that was because we're playing this game for the sustained, successful career. How long have you been doing this, Brittany, now?
Voiceover, 8 years full time.
8 years, 30 years. I started in 1995, and I still pay my insurance. Can be in Maui for 2 months. Have house and stuff like that, because that's what we've been doing. So think about it that way. These first years are formative, and how do you invest the time? Take it slow so you can make the impact that you want to, which will save you time in the long run, time and money in the long run. So
no, absolutely, because it's absolutely a journey. I mean, when I first started, Ryan remembers, I was terrible. I didn't book anything for like 2 years. I was so bad and made a lot of mistakes and did it the hard way. So yes, it's very important.
Yeah. And we're here to help and keep on asking good questions, that you're all here. Thank you all for putting your demos in the ring. That's brave and true. And look forward to getting to spend time with all of you. And there's always something good going on at the dojo. Fight clubs. You Should Do Voiceover is starting up in May. And even if you're on your journey, we should talk about that, because it lays foundations in maybe a new way. So anyway, lots to talk about. Brittany and Ryan, I know you're super busy, so it's always a pleasure to get to come and play and explore with you. Jeffrey, thanks for making everything go smoothly. And have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks,
you know,
everybody.
one more
Thank you,
thing.
Tish.
One more thing. If you do social media, post about this because we can share the replay. I think it's just at the VO Dojo for everything, isn't it? Or
Yes, it is.
yeah, at the VO Dojo for everything. Yay!
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks so
Bye,
much.
guys. Thank you.
Great stuff.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you so much.